So thank you so much for joining us this afternoon, morning, Hawaii, evening on the African continent, and points east, and here in the States, North America, South America. Good afternoon. And oh gosh, we still have morning for some of you guys in California. So thanks for your time. We still have people checking in. Excellent. I'm going to promote you to panelists so that you guys can be more interactive. And we're going to get started. We're going to talk about the chapter handbook today. I'm not going to go through all 146 pages, I promise, but I'm going to flip through it so that you know what's there, right? So many people don't even know, oh my gosh, this resource is there. So the first thing I'm going to do, though, is get us to my internet page. I'm going to show you on the WAI website. Let me share my screen. So also I'd like to welcome Rory Einbinder. She is on from the chapter membership team's staff, and will help with questions and to help me keep an eye on chat as I'm rolling through this, because I won't see the chat or the questions, but Rory will, and she can probably answer a whole bunch of them. So right now you're looking at the WAI website, wai.org. Along here, the main menu bar is the first one is chapters. If you click there and then you go down to the side, I would recommend logging in here. So if you want to access anything, you can. That's behind the membership firewall. But second, under this menu on the right hand side is chapter resources. And on this page, you're going to find an absolute goldmine of information and useful tools. It goes on and it goes on and it goes on. And even that's where our Girls in Aviation Day tools are going to show up at the right time this summer. So at the very top, you can look through that, kind of, when you're bored, sitting around, scrolling on your phone. But at the very top, you're going to find download the complete 2022 chapter handbook. And that's actually going to take you to a Dropbox page where you can, bingo, there's the chapter handbook. Now I'm going to close that because it's going to really goof up my internet connection, but I have downloaded it. I'm going to go back to, I'm going to share a different page. This is the chapter handbook for 2022. So we're going to dive in. As you can see, it's got 146 information filled pages. And here, I'm going to promote a couple of recent attendees to panelists so you guys can get in there, ask questions. We can see your beautiful faces. Chapter handbook, page 1. Whoa. I'm going to just pop through this and hit on a couple of key concepts. So please do throw your questions into the chat, chime in, unmute yourself and ask a question if you'd like. I'm fine with that. The table of contents shows you just how much there is to this. 8 sections, 146 pages. The first section's the introduction, a lovely letter. I did want to touch on a new-ish section. It's new in the last 3 years, the diversity statement. The reason I want to touch on this is many of you, as you apply for grants or talk to potential donors or partners, they ask for a diversity statement, and you're welcome to use this. And we live by this. We believe in this. This is the reason that, in your membership, in your bylaws and articles of incorporation, when we talk about membership, the only requirement to being a member of your chapter is to be an aviation enthusiast and member of WAI. And to be a member, anybody can be a member of WAI. And we honestly and truly live by this passionately. So feel free to use that as you manage your chapter, apply for funds, create partnerships, things like that. Same with our vision, mission, and value statement. You're welcome to use that. It talks about our board of directors and your WAI staff. We're here to help you. You can find a lot of this online. This first bylaws section is actually the actual bylaws for the organization Women in Aviation. You're welcome to read through that. We believe in transparency. You can see everything there is to see here. It's probably going to be updated in the real near future. If you are looking to start a chapter, now everybody who's here is actually a member of a chapter, a leader of a chapter. Just wanted to let you know this is here in the event that you know somebody who wants to start a chapter. And Trimby's on the line here with us from the Mile High chapter, actually has sent us a couple of people, and she knew all this information was here. She knew where to send people who are asking her, how do I start a chapter? So you can send people to that chapter resources page. They're welcome to use all of this. This is in a narrative about how to start a chapter, what the steps are. Here's even the formation checklist and the application that they need to send in to us. Section 3, if some of you are still provisional chapters and you're moving from provisional to official, Chapter 3 is your official chapter application and formation documentation. So you can kind of take a look at this. It's going to help you through the checklist and the application for official chapter status that must be completed in the first 12 months-ish of your chapterhood, being a provisional chapter. So it talks about bylaws. If you're in Canada, we've got a couple of requirements. We even give you a sample of bylaws and articles of incorporation. You can just copy and paste. You don't need to recreate the wheel. Just go ahead and use those, drop in your chapter name, your, wherever you're incorporating. It also, there are some sections in there that must read exactly the way that they are written, and it talks about that in the checklist. Now we get into the stuff, the everyday, what's going to help me manage my chapter section. And there's 3 or 4 sections after this that are really going to be useful to you. We've got a few more new attendees. I'm going to invite them to be panelists so you guys can participate real time. And we're going to jump into section 4, the chapter organization and administration overview. So it talks a little bit about, we're going to go over some of the same information, how to start a chapter, what you need for a provisional chapter, what you need for an official chapter. And then it's going to go into, what you need to do, kind of a sort of checklist every year. What do you need to do? Ongoing chapter management here. When are things due? Here's our address. Here's my email address, phone number, stuff like that. That's just the first page. Then we have some pages that talk about what are the required committees and what do those committees do? And then we've taken some of the better ideas from other chapters that of various sizes. If you're a new chapter and you've got, just the bare minimum 6 or 10 members, then you probably don't have enough people to create all these different chapters. But these are some good ideas that we wanted to share with you guys. Other committees that you might want to start to help. A lot of people want to help once you get into kind of critical mass with your chapter. These are other good ideas for committees or teams that you might want to form. People can help with. Girls in Aviation Day, scholarships, elections, fundraising, program and events, merchandise, maybe, stuff you can sell as a chapter, social media, things they can help you communicate. And then really important tool, and we actually break this out separately on the chapter resources page, is the chapter continuity tool. So why is this important? So you guys are not always going to be the president or the vice president or the officer of your organization. Hopefully you're building a chapter that will succeed over many years. We have chapters that have been around for 30 years, and the officers change regularly. If you're a collegiate chapter, that your officers might change every semester. If you are a non-collegiate or non-student chapter, they might change every single year. So with those chapter officers and leaders goes some corporate memory, so to speak. The continuity tool is in place to help you. I do not want this. WAI does not want to hold on to this. Please don't send this to us, because it's going to have things like passwords and login information. I'm going through this right now. Mike Hall is up in New York, and he's working real hard to kind of rejuvenate a chapter. And we're not able to ask the old chapter president for her password on how to log in to file her 990N. So it's going to be a big ordeal to try and figure out how to log in. Well, if we'd had the chapter continuity tool in place, it's going to remind you to, fill out some information so that you can pass it on to the next set of officers. Banks, banking, credit card information. Here you go, your EIN number, your username for filing your 990N, your password, things of that information. How do you log into your email account? MailChimp, Eventbrite, Instagram, whatever you guys are using for social media, write it down. Stick it in a Dropbox, stick it in a binder that you actually physically hand to the next set of officers. But this is just, and you can add stuff, you can not use it, you can make this your own. It's just almost sort of a checklist. Be sure you're passing on this information to the next group of officers. Excuse me. Other important things to pass on, so like contacts of people you've worked with for fundraising, contact information for events, meetings, scholarship information, and some other things to pass information along for. So again, this is a tool just for your use. It is separate on the chapter resources page, and you just keep it internally to your chapter and your officers. There's some really sensitive information there. Again, I don't want it. Please keep it internally so you guys can make use of that, and you don't end up, with 5 or 6 different EIN numbers, for example, which we've had happen. That's a mess to clean up, by the by. So the next section on the ongoing management section is how to build a calendar of events. We just did a chapter leaders webinar on this. It's on our YouTube channel, but here it is kind of in writing. So you can go through this, make sure if you maybe are looking for ideas, there's a place to look at it. Here are some annual reporting lists, checklists, things that you might need. To file your 990N, when it's due, what the specifics are. For example, we are all supposed to be under a fiscal year, which is October 1 through September 30 of each year. And that means you can file your 990N for the previous fiscal starting in October 1st. But you only have until the 15th of February, which is next Tuesday, to file it for the previous year. So, but it gives you the specifics. What are the required meetings and events, things of that nature. Talking about how to get your employer identification number, what that means. Again, a little more information on the 990N or your business number if you're in Canada. And what are some of the things you need to do to maintain your tax exempt status? So once you're an official chapter, in fact, if you're a provisional chapter, you are a tax exempt, tax-free organization under WAI's nonprofit in most cases. Some of you are student chapters, and will fall under your university's nonprofit. Nonetheless, all of us are under a nonprofit group. And so there are some things we need to do to sort of take care of that, make sure that we can maintain it. If a chapter were to do something that would put this in danger for all of us, I mean, that would be disastrous. So we need to, that's one of the reasons we all need to, the official chapters in the United States need to file the 990N. We start putting the whole network at risk if we don't do the things the IRS asks us to do. That 990 is important. It lists the WAI group or tax exempt number. So if you're filing for a tax exemption in your state, for example, you start buying stuff for Girls in Aviation Day and you don't want to pay sales tax, you've got to apply for a tax exemption from your state. And they may ask you for your parents' group exemption number, and that's here. It also talks a little bit about making sure you're clean on your local side of your business. So do you have local taxes, state taxes that you need to be probably not paying, but there might be a form that you need to fill out every year. I know in Texas, for sure, there's a form that you've got to fill out every single year. And if you don't, catching up on that can be very expensive. The penalties are high for missing your state tax filing. Again, doesn't usually include any payment of any kind. It's just a piece of paper that's usually pretty easy to file, usually online. So check in with your state authorities on what you need to file each year, or local authorities. If you are paying an employee, you are responsible for filing Social Security taxes. Oh, and this is Otis, everybody. Hi, Otis. The joys of working from home. So check in, make sure you're paying Social Security taxes if you have an actual employee. Most chapters don't, so this isn't going to apply to most of us. In fact, I would recommend that you don't have employees, because that's just, wow, opening up a whole nother ball of wax, right? Can of worms. So now if you are a chapter under our group exemption, so we talk a little bit about what you need to do, including this form you will have had to file with us when you first applied for your official tax or for your official chapter status. And if you are a student organization and you fall under your university's tax exempt group, then we give you even a sample letter. We need a letter from your university confirming that you will fall under this group or their group. And just copy this, have your appropriate officials in the university system stick this on their letterhead and send it to me, and we'll put it in your file and you'll be good to go. So 2022 things to do, and Otis is back. Things to do, stuff to know, dates you might want to keep at your forefront. This also is on the chapter resources page. It's in our handbook, but it's going to talk to you about events, kind of the big ones, stuff coming up for conference, Sun and Fun, when your chapter annual report is due and when the annual administration fee is due, some of our other programs, Girls in Aviation Day, Honor the WASP. So that's there for you. We get into the annual, speaking of the annual report every year, every single official chapter, whether you're a student chapter or not, whether you are in the United States or not, every single chapter needs to file an annual report. And that's due by April 30th of every year. Also, we ask that you pay a $135 annual administrative fee every year by April 30th. You can use your rebate funds to pay this. And what that does is, you know, when you have Girls in Aviation Day and somebody asks you for a certificate of insurance, well, guess what? You're insured. And so that $135 every year pays for your insurance. So if And every quarter you're going to get a report from the chapter team that talks about what your chapter rebate balance is. So if you have enough funds in there to pay for this, great. Just let us know you want to use those funds to pay this and you're all covered. But it's really important that you have insurance. So it's really important that this fee gets paid every year. And the annual report is part of us keeping our nonprofit status. So what we do is we ask for you to review and sign with us an annual agreement. So we're all operating under the same page. And then it goes through, we make sure we have all the right contact information. We make sure we have your EIN information accurate. Your website, who do you want on the website as a contact person and their information. Who make sure we have all of the correct officers so that we're communicating with the right people. You have no idea how hard this is to keep track of. I think Rory's head's probably going to explode when I say this, but it's really hard to keep track of this for now 150 chapters. So please help us and make sure we have your most current officers. We need to understand what you did last year in terms of scholarships, member recruitment activity, and what you're going to do next year, educational and mentoring activities. And we are looking for kind of, now this is going to change. So this is where I give you just a little sneak peek into the behind the curtain stuff at WAI. We're switching to a new database. So hopefully we'll be able to keep this next section where we ask you, what's your members' involvement in aviation? What do you guys do each? Because why do we ask? First of all, a lot of people think we're just about being pilots, and we're not all pilots. I'm a marketing weenie. I'm a pilot, but I'm a marketing weenie. We have teachers on this call. We have journalists on this call. We have event organizers on this call. So lots of us are doing lots of different things in aviation. We have air traffic controllers on this call, maintenance technicians on the call, and pilots. So we just want to understand who is making up the membership of the committees. What are the various interests in aviation? And that will also help you plan your annual event. So this whole thing, the annual report, will help you sit down, organize your thoughts about your chapter with your officers. What did we do? What are we going to do? It just gives you a good structure on how to plan your year and understand who your membership is. So that's the annual report. It's super easy. And our next chapter leadership webinar is going to be just on the annual report. And if you sat there and did it while we're on that webinar, it would be done. This next section is a new section, new-ish in the last couple of years, where we're trying to help you a little bit. This cat is just so interested in managing a chapter well. I'm gonna have to put him out of the room. So some of us are new managers, right? New leaders. We have some folks who are new presidents. So we've got a section in here that's been put together by people who have been presidents of successful chapters and say, hey, these are really important things we need to think about. So it just might be interesting. I wish what I had done is at the very top and in between every single section said, keep it simple. So just remember always to keep it simple. Remember, you can't do it all yourself. I wish I could say that on every line. And remember to have fun. That needs to be on every line too. So just gives you something to think about that you maybe want to go over with your officers. Some chapters. And okay, so one of the things that I hear regularly from chapter leaders is we can't get the officers aren't following through. They're not doing what they said they were going to do. They aren't showing up to meetings. Well, one of the things that you might want to make sure that you have in place before you set off on a year with a new slate of officers is mutual understanding of what's involved, of what you're asking of your officers. And some chapters even put that in writing. They put together a sample board member agreement for us to use in this handbook. You don't have to use it, but you can, to make sure that you have clearly identified the expectations you have for your leaders. And you can change this. This can say anything at all you want it to say, but put it in writing. Put what your expectations are. Are you expected as a leader, as a chapter officer, to attend 50% of the meetings? Are you expected to help with Girls in Aviation Day? Are you expected to, what are you expected to do? What are your expectations? And that can knock down a bunch of the obstacles, right, to making sure people are engaged. And it asks for everybody to sign one. Every single leader and the president signs. So that might be for you. A lot of people ask, what are the required board positions, officer positions, and what's not required, and what does each role do, for example? So we talked to some chapters and put together kind of best practices. There are 6 positions that are absolutely required for you to have filled. Let me also say this, that we really need to be sure that all of your members and your officers are active WAI members. So if they need to renew, you're going to, with every quarterly report you get about the rebates, your roster is going to be on there. So you can see also who needs to renew their membership. That goes back to the insurance thing, guys. So if they're not an actual active member, they're not covered under that insurance. And so if your officers aren't active members and your insurance isn't in place because they're not active, and you hold a Girls in Aviation Day and something bad happens, then that's going to be ugly for all of us. So please be sure that your members and officers are active WAI members. But we require 6 positions: president, vice president, treasurer, secretary, membership chair, and outreach chair. There are some other positions, officer positions here, that some other chapters have that might be a good idea for you. You might consider them. You do not have to do it, but it's just another way to divvy up the work, right? So sometimes it's easier to get people to sign up for small jobs than it is to get them to sign up to a giant job, right? So instead of just having a secretary, for example, or a membership chair who does all of the communications, maybe you can split it up. Maybe you can have it be a webmaster and a social media chair, and they can work together, but maybe one, maybe it's a big job and you want to spread out the work a little bit. So here are some ideas that some other chapters have put in place that are available to you. Just checking, we're on page 102. So not so bad in 20 minutes. Some tips on running a meeting. You guys might all know that keeping your members engaged. This is an especially difficult time for all of us. I would love to say we are post-pandemic. I would love that post, that it's after, that it's done. That is in no way true. So it's just really hard to get people to stay engaged, and there's a lot of unknowns, and none of us have stayed engaged in everything that we were involved in before the pandemic. So chapters are struggling across the board. If you feel like your chapter is the only one out there who's struggling with keeping everybody engaged, with putting together a program, with finding officers, nope, you are not alone. I don't know if that makes you feel better or not, but do know that you're not alone. Do not disband your chapter. This is a crazy time. Everybody's going through the same thing. But here are some things you might want to think about as you think about re-engaging your chapter, growing your membership, retaining members and growing your members. In terms of a long-term successful chapter, you want to be sure you keep adding new members. Why is that important? So the same 6 people don't always have to do all the work. Otherwise, you're going to burn out and chapters can go away. So make sure that you keep adding new members. And that's not a membership thing for WAI. So your chapter continues to thrive. It's all about continuing to add new experiences, new people, new blood, all that stuff. Here are some ideas for outreach and membership drive events. I'm going to go back to that. So we also hopefully we'll see some of you at conference and at the chapter leaders workshop on Thursday morning. I'll also hand this out. It's on the resources page, but we've gone into the annual reports and we've taken a bunch of great ideas for what people have held for fundraising, for membership drives, for events. And we've just dumped it into a list to give you guys some ideas. Hey, I didn't think about holding a trivia night as a fundraiser. I didn't think about doing a museum or a art gallery crawl as a membership event. It's just a fun list of things that might give you an idea of stuff you can do. So here is just a quick summation of outreach and membership drive events that you can always think about. Again, keep it simple. Doesn't have to be perfect. I said this on a call the other day, brave, not perfect, right? It just doesn't have to be perfect. Doesn't have to be a perfectly produced event. If 2 or 3 times a year, you guys just get together and you go and have dinner or margaritas or coffee or breakfast or Sunday brunch, that's enough sometimes to bring the fun back into the chapter and keep everybody connected. People join a chapter for 3 reasons, not in any particular order. Scholarships, the business side of the people equation, networking, mentorship, that kind of stuff, and the social side. So the support system that a chapter offers. So a couple of years ago in one of those chapter leadership workshops, one of you guys maybe said, might've been Katie Frost. Katie Frost, was it you? Who said, some people want purpose and some people want pizza. And you need to offer both. You need to go on tours and offer speakers and go have margaritas, simple, get together, let everybody get to know each other. Knock down the walls, no clicks, make sure everybody's engaging together and learning from one another and getting to know each other. And that will foster a really healthy dynamic chapter. So keep it simple. Fundraising. It is one of the universal challenges that we all have as chapters. Stuff costs money, so we need to be able to raise money. You need to probably have a PO box or a checking account, website hosting, right? That all costs money. So we've put together some great tools to help you make a go of it. So you don't have to recreate all of the wheels. You're still going to have to do the legwork, but we've given you some tools to help get you there. This is kind of almost a checklist. Be sure to send a receipt. Be sure to thank your sponsors, talk to them. Here's a letter that you can use to send to partners when you're soliciting for funds. There's a flyer you might want to use, or a structure that you might want to think about using. Here's a receipt that you're welcome to use. Just dump your name in, cut and paste, put your chapter logo on there, and bingo, you've got a receipt. And a receipt's super important because you're a nonprofit. So any money that people, or goods or in-kind contributions that they provide to you, to the chapter, is tax deductible for them. So they need a receipt for their taxes. So that's important. And then there's my favorite, other stuff you need to know. And this is really good. So let's talk about conference. We already did one of these calls about conference. There are a ton of things going on at conference just for you guys, just for chapters, in addition to all the other stuff. This is going to go through that. We've already passed the deadline for the Chapter Volunteer of the Year award. I am going to say that the chapter showcase at the membership booth, you can still ask for time there. So if you haven't done that, please do go ahead and fill out the form and get some time to showcase your chapter to the rest of the WAI membership. I can tell you that the hotel is full. So what that tells me, if anybody's ever been to the Gaylord in Nashville, it's enormous. It's mammoth. For it to be full means we're going to have a heck of a turnout. I think everybody's really ready to get back to seeing each other in person. I'm looking forward to the screaming in the hallways, and I'll be wearing a mask, but I'm going to hug people who are going to let me hug them. So I'm really looking forward to that. So there's going to be a lot of people there. Showcase your chapter. This is a good chance to let people know what you do. Chapter logo contest. It's not too late. Get me your let's make sure we have your custom logo, and we're going to let members vote on their very favorite chapter logo, and you can win a pull-up banner for your chapter to use at events. And speaking of the banner, here's the pull-up banner. And unfortunately, we can't change it, but we can put your logo on it. And you can, even if you don't win it, you can order one. It's $325, and that includes shipping. Here's some ideas for online tools. Don't do everything manually. Use the tools that are out there. Just some ideas from chapters. Use Google Forms. A lot of chapters now are even voting on Google Forms. So for your officers, it does the tallying. You can see very clearly, here's the ballot. It keeps records for you. It's, Google Forms, great way to keep information and to go out and ask for information. Google Drive, Dropbox, Microsoft OneDrive, use your technology to keep information all in one place. Facebook, MailChimp, Eventbrite, use the tech. Zoom. You guys, we as a chapter network, we've been using Zoom long before the pandemic. So Zoom is still free for under 40 minutes per session. So it's easy to keep your members, like if you're I'm in the North Texas chapter, and we always have a Zoom component of a board meeting, because the one thing that we all have in common in all of these chapters is we all move around, we all travel. So you might have, your treasurer might be a captain at United Airlines and might be in Tokyo while you're having an officer meeting, a board meeting, but on Zoom, they can still participate. So I would encourage you to have a virtual component of a lot of your business meetings, at least. Take money with PayPal and Square. You don't need to have, people hand you checks anymore. I don't carry a checkbook anymore. Heck, I don't carry cash anymore. So you need to make it easy and quick and secure for people to pay you for things like their membership or donations. Just make it easy. Canva is a great way to create graphics that you can use on your social media or your email. One of the things that we've learned relatively recently in the last 5 years or so is that not everybody likes to use email, that the new generation really digs texting, and they're not going to look at their email, and they're probably not everybody looks at the same social networks either. So Project Broadcast is a texting service that you can use too. Don't think it's free. I think there's a small charge, and there's probably more. So if you guys have good ideas that we should be adding to this list, let me know and we will add it to the list. But use technology. And remember, you've got to communicate with your members the way they want to be communicated with. We at WAI even are looking at how to incorporate texting in our communication strategy. It's a little bit harder when we're dealing with 15,000 members, which we are. So we've got to do it thoughtfully, and it can't break our bank. So, but I'll let you know what we find and ideas. So any ideas you might have, let us know. Some information on Girls in Aviation Day, a gentle baseball bat reminder to the head that as chapters, we're not allowed to fly. We're not allowed to have flying events. Yes, I hate it. Yes, I hate it. I'll say that 3 times. I hate it so much. But you know how you only pay $135 a year for insurance? If that included flying events, there might be a 0 on the end of that. So right now, no flying under the chapter moniker, please, as you are not insured for that. So please always be aware of that. So we've always had questions about that. Can you give away free flights? Nope. Can you give away even Young Eagle flights or introductory flights? No. You can be present where that's happening. Like you can be at a air show and Young Eagles can be next door and they can be signing people up for Young Eagles flights. No problem with that. You can be at an air show, but you can't do a poker run. You know, the 99s do a killer job of stuff like that. So, you know, let's leave that to them and remember that we cannot fly. Insurance. Here's a general piece of information about our insurance. The blanket proof of insurance is actually on our resource page. So if you ever need to provide proof of insurance, it's there for you to use. If you ever need to ask for like your venue to be a named insured on our insurance policy for an event, we can do that too. There's a form on that, on the chapter resources page that I just need some information. So when you ask for that, it's there for you. Oh, look, here's the request for the certificate of insurance for asking for named insured. It's really super simple and it uses all that great technology we talked about. You fill this out and it's going to come to me and we're going to get with our underwriters. And before you know it, you're going to have your proof of insurance. You also have in this our brand identity guide. I'm going to scroll through this a little bit. Talks about your chapter logo, all the actual WAI colors, the fonts, Girls in Aviation Day, the logo, the colors, the fonts. Lots of you guys are still doing this, and I hate to be the nasty brand Nazi, but I have to be. Don't squish the logo, don't stretch the logo, don't change the logo, don't change the colors, please. Don't add to the logo. Don't, for example, say Girls in Aviation Day, Texas. Can't do that. We can't say Girls in Aviation Day, United States. Don't change the fonts, don't change the colors, don't turn it. I can provide you the logo in any format you want. If, for example, you're using it on top of a dark background and you need all one color, I can give you that, but don't change it yourself, please. And this walks you through that. Here, this gives you a good example of how you can use it. Merchandise, Girls in Aviation Day stuff, even the mandala. We can make the mandala available. You can put it on t-shirt. You can even ask our merchandiser. We just changed our merchandiser again. I know, I'm sorry. But we can put oh, and now Ella makes an appearance. Here's the second tuxedo. I am so sorry, y'all. So you can use the mandala, put it on a t-shirt, put your chapter logo in the middle of it, and sell those as a fundraiser. People love that mandala because that mandala has little airplanes, tons and tons of little airplanes all over it. Aircraft, I should say, because there's drones and helicopters there too. So here's some of the marketing materials. Here's how you can use it. We've even created business cards for you. If you would like to use those, you can, use that as a format and send it to your local printer. Business cards are super inexpensive. You can put your chapter information on one side and some information about Girls in Aviation Day or whatever on the other. Here are some postcards you can use, note cards. Here are all of our official fonts, some notes about our editorial style. I see a lot of people using WIA as the acronym for Women in Aviation International. WIA, if you were to Google that, will take you to a different organization. So not a good thing to do. Move on through, Ella. And so WAI is the official acronym to use, talks about that, and the chapter logo usage. As a chapter, you don't ever need to use the Women in Aviation logo. That logo should be reserved for items. For example, if we come in and sponsor an event, we'll use the Women in Aviation logo. But when you guys are working with somebody sponsoring an event, for example, your chapter logo should be the one that's used. And it talks about how that, if you're, for example, don't have a custom logo, I can send you this outer circle and you can customize the inside. And then you can join the logo contest and people can vote for your logo and you can win a banner. And then here are some other deadlines. So every couple of months, you guys get an email from me and it says, hey, send me your news. Well, send me your news. And then you get this beautiful magazine. And in the magazine, there's chapter news. And you probably look at it and go, how did that chapter get their picture in there? Well, when I send you an email and say, send me your chapter news, and you do, it goes right to the editor of the magazine. So, and these are the dates that in advance. So if you were to want to put these in your calendar, for example, you can go ahead and do that. These are the dates I need your chapter news by. And I'm going to send you an email a couple of weeks before this and remind you, but that this information is also there. Chapter awards. This talks about the Dorothy Hilbert Chapter Volunteer of the Year Award. So I'm going to leave you with that for just a short. Mute, sorry. Yeah. So Dorothy Hill, how did you get in? Chapter Volunteer of the Year Award, that's come and gone. We'll award that at conference in March for 2023. Two. COVID, man, my COVID brain, 2022. But it'll be, if you've got a super special chapter member that you want to nominate for this award next February, be thinking about it. The chapter rebate program, all of the information is here about the chapter rebate, how you earn money, how you can use money, even give. And I say money, there's no cash value to this. I'm never going to write you a check for it, but you can use it. So if, let's say you have a $200 rebate balance and you want to send somebody to conference, you can use that $200 to pay for registration. You can pay for 4 members for their WAI memberships. You can buy a banner. You can do all of that stuff with this kind of money, with the chapter rebate funds. And all of the details are here in the handbook on how to use that. And then sadly, at the very end, the very last page is the chapter dissolution page. I have only used this 4 times. And it makes me sad every single time I have to do it. But if you have to dissolve a chapter, this is how you do it. So that information is all there. I am now seeing 3 chats. Scholarships. Venmo, yep. Venmo, Zelle, Cash App, you know, WhatsApp. I think there's a payment process there. So wherever you are, whatever makes the most sense, the more ways you have to receive money, the easier it is going to be to talk to your vendors. And yeah, good suggestions. So I'm going to stop sharing and say, do we have any questions that didn't already come up? No? Holy smokes.
Molly, this is Katie from the Oshkosh chapter.
Hi, Katie.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Good. Say, I have a question for you. So we have some people that are looking to transition just because they were in a collegiate part in their life. They're looking to transition out of officer roles. Do we, as a chapter, have to go through a specific process? Like, do we have to go through voting and all that stuff in order to replace those officer positions?
It depends on what your bylaws say.
Okay.
Always on stuff like that, we don't tell you exactly how you have to do that, but you do have to follow your own rules.
Okay.
So when you wrote your bylaws, your articles of incorporation, there are 4 or 5 paragraphs that we need to read exactly in a certain way. Other than that, you're really wide open.
Okay.
But once you do that, one of the reasons that my advice always is to make your bylaws and your articles of incorporation, 1, very simple, and 2, easy to adjust as you need, because times change, is that you've got to follow
that tells me what
rules.
Yep.
So ultimately it's those things are going to be how you manage your chapter, not just today, but maybe 10 years from now. The officers are going to have to live by what you're writing today, potentially. So follow your own rules.
Awesome. Thank you. I just want to ensure that we weren't missing anything from.
Yeah. No, I would in your own rules, I would make it easy in the event that you have an officer that moves, for example, and you have a vacancy. And in all honesty, what happens for most chapters, there's not 5 people that jump up and down and vehemently want that position. So there's this giant election runoff with, campaigning and stuff. Sometimes that happens, but usually it's, can you find a volunteer? And you want to make it easy to say, you want to do the job? Great, tag, you're it. So, maybe this year, a good thing for you guys to do is look at your bylaws and articles and make sure it's easy to say yes to the people who want to do the work.
Perfect. Thank you.
Sure. Good question. Really good question. I love seeing you guys. Any other questions? Oh, hey, Kirby.
Yeah. Hey, is there any way that the annual report could include the signatures of each board member agreeing? What was that? You showed one of the pages of the handbook that has a signature of the board member saying, "Hey, I'm going to do this position," or here's how I'm going to be active, and then the president signs it. Is there a way to have that in the report so that prior to the report getting sent in, each board member signs that? Or is that just meant to be like an internal thing that we're just seeing their signatures that they are agreeing to actually do what they signed up to do?
You guys are absolutely welcome to do that. But because all of you require different things, your expectations for each role are different, right? So there's no set standard. This is what a secretary does. This is what a treasurer does. There's not even a set list of officers, but for those 6. I don't know how I would do that for 150 different chapters, but you internally can say, your board can put in your bylaws, with every annual report, we need to keep on file a signed agreement, of expectations by each officer. In Dallas, in our first board meeting, everybody signs that agreement. Every single officer signs it. And if you can't sign it, no problem. Then this officer role isn't for you. We'll, open it up to see if somebody else who's available to attend 50% of the meetings or something and can sign up to that. No hard feelings. But yeah, make it part of your process. That's a great idea, because everybody has that problem, right? Everybody does. Good idea. Who's going to conference? Yeah. Oh, look there's some hands. Woohoo. Woo. Awesome sauce.
Can't miss
Molly.
it.
I actually had a question because this came up on Facebook Marketplace, or sorry, not Marketplace, Facebook. A lot of us have ideas or we've made our own activities for chapters, but we'd love to share them between chapters. Just those PDFs that someone could just easily print out. Is there a unified area to share that amongst chapters, like a
You can
Google
do it on-
Docs?
Yeah, you can do it on Facebook. I've asked for that, and as we at WAI implement new technology, one of the things I've asked for is that you guys have the ability to get in and change the database and pull certain reports. And hey, I have two naughty cats who are breaking down the door. I'm so sorry. This is being recorded. I'm so embarrassed. Look at, I'm even blushing. That doesn't happen very often. So I've asked for that ability to not only for you guys to be able to share documents, but to be able to download documents so that you have access to, you know, this last year's annual report or the last time you had to file XYZ or whatever. We don't have the money to do that yet. That's a really super spendy part of that tool. We're hoping to have that going forward, but I can't promise it right now. Right now, I can say you can share, you can save documents to Facebook, to the Facebook page. So you're welcome to share them there. There's even a page or a little portion of when you open up Facebook, there's a portion that shows documents that have been uploaded. So I would welcome you guys to share anything you have there. That would be great. Unless you're trying to sell something, in which case I'm probably gonna delete that. So. Great idea, Ashley. Somebody had their, Holly, did you have your hand up? Okay, well, if there's no
Hi,
more
Molly.
questions,
I'm sorry.
Oh,
I was
that's okay.
having unmute problems. No, I was raising my hand that I was going to conference, but then my boss walked over to my desk and I forgot to lower my hand.
what are all these people doing on your screen? Who are these
Yeah.
people? Well, cool. Well, thank you guys so much for your time. Neighborly question: could we participate in Women of Aviation Week? Is that the question? Of course. So we are the group that plays well with everybody. We welcome everybody. We play well with everybody. In fact, several of our chapters have even won IWOW's award for, you know, the most events. You can't fly under your chapter moniker, period. So where that's involved, that gets a little bit murky, but yeah, you know, the rest of it.
Yeah, our chapter did that a few years ago. The WOW went to Northern Colorado Regional Airport, and they had a fly in, or they called it a fly out, where Diana Stanger brought her helicopter and a bunch of people brought planes, and Deborah Rinner Harvey brought her plane, and just, it was awesome. I think they flew out about 1,000 girls in the span of 3 days. But our chapter as Women in Aviation International, we volunteered to help them. So we were there as like playing nice. It was great. It was super fun. And it's great networking too.
Yep. And same thing with the 99s. You know, did anybody watch Wally Funk go into space over the summer? Right. Well, the 99s hosted a watch party, and the WAI chapter trooped along, and we all did it together. So we truly are the chapter that plays, or the group that plays well with everybody. In fact, I would encourage it. Reach out to, whether it's the 99s or NGPA or OBAP or all of those affinity groups in the aviation world. We are all stronger together. And there is, wow, is there enough work to go around? So yeah, reach out, include everybody. I'm now throwing stuff at my cats and they're still looking at me like,
You want to see my cat?
this is how you behave.
Yeah, you just chill out on your little wool from New Zealand bed. Good to see you, Molly.
It's good to see you guys, and I'm really looking forward to seeing you. Any
Hey,
more?
Molly,
Yes.
I have a quick question. We had a meeting yesterday, and some people noticed that, as you said earlier, the hotel is already sold out. And we were wondering, the website says that additional hotel information will be added. Do you know when that would be, and if the new hotels would have shuttle services?
So we're working on that. I don't have an answer yet for you. I would keep watching the website. I would also keep calling the Gaylord, if people have to cancel, rooms might open up. But we're working on that. We're working on more rooms, which is a great problem to have. I'm actually quite delighted to have that. You might also look at Airbnb. I know there are chapters who are renting a house together. And everybody's staying together. You rent one car and everybody rolls over together and rolls back, or you Uber or whatever. So we'll sort that out and put it on the website as soon as we have it. There's some other good options, so
Okay, thank you.
I'm excited. You guys, you've spent an hour and 6 minutes with us. Thank you so much. It's lovely to see all of you. Be safe, be healthy, so that we can see you all in Nashville, and holler at us if we can help with anything. Thank you so much.
Bye. See you soon.
Bye, guys.
Hey, bye, Molly.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.